I'm here with someone who needs no introduction, Max Büsser himself, the champion of independent watchmaking, and I'm not just saying that, it's true and you know it. Welcome back to our channel, Max.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the channel. It's always a pleasure to catch up with you.
Likewise.
Today, however, we're not going to talk about Max's watches. We're going to talk about the business of watchmaking, independent watchmaking, and about the co-creations and the various collaborations that you do. So I'm going to start with, how is the business of independent watchmaking?
Well, look, I think we've all been blessed with 2 incredible years, maybe practically 3. Honestly, in March 2020, we all thought it was game over. And by the end of 2020, we realized that suddenly this enormous wave of new clients coming in and saying, I want what you're doing, arrived. And we first didn't understand how come this was happening, and then we didn't know how to respond. You have to understand that all of us have had pretty rough decades. We're not talking of years, we're talking of decades. And it was trying to find the very few people who would resonate on the same wavelength as us. Right. And it was a lot of work. And we did it because we've never been in this because it was a business. All of us independents have been doing that because it's our calling, it's what we love doing, it's the only thing we know how to do, and it gave us our purpose. If you think it's just because you hate your job and you want to create a brand because you hate your job, think twice, because you're going to be happy to get back your job one day. Because the amount of failures are enormous. So the only reason you can actually create a brand is because it's your calling, and because if you look at yourself in the mirror and say, one day, I didn't do it, I've got tons of regrets, then do it. And I think that's the most important. Pride has to be the denominator, it has to be the thing which pushes you, and don't do it because it's a business. Now, over the last 2 years, suddenly it's become much easier, as I said, commercially. There are way other issues. So don't think that now because it's easier commercially, you should quickly go and start up a brand. Because the amount of domains, the whole ecosystem you have to manage to get that piece out is way larger than any of our own competences. So that's, if I've got an advice, is that it has to be a calling, and alone you can't do anything. And if you're not ready to empower people around you and to realize that, and to be humble, to realize that all alone you can't do anything, it's going to be tough. The buyers who during COVID realized that watches are finally just the byproduct of a story. For most people, a watch is a product. It's a product which is a work of art, it's a product which is a work of artisanship, and unfortunately, way too often it's a product to show off. But for us, for me, and I keep on buying way too many watches, a watch is the byproduct of a story or the courage of somebody who took a risk and a group of people who followed their calling. So when I look at my Journe, my Vianney Halter, my Voutilainen, my Ohrwerk, I don't only see an incredible product, I remember the stories of all these people who've given up so much, who've suffered so much to be able to come out with that product. It's not about being a brand. It's about a few crazy human beings making something extraordinary. I think it was born as much out of desire as out of frustration. What I mean is, when you start creating for yourself, it's an addiction. And as in all addictions, you need to increase the dosage. And so you always want to I wanted to take more risks and try more things. So that was the desire. The frustration was that, as you said, we're auto-financed, and from my little savings of the beginning, it's already absolutely mind-boggling that we managed to come out with 20 calibers in 17 years. We've got all the calibers till 2031 now in the pipeline. And this has been going on that I've always been creating way more than we could financially or team-wise actually develop. And as you know, a piece like this is 4 to 5 years of development. So we've got this sort of layer cake of all these cool projects going on. But then all my new ideas, when I come to the team, they're like, 2032. They're like, dude, I don't want to wait 2032. So these co-creations gave me another way of expressing my crazy creativity, if you want to call it that way. And what happened is, again, I believe enormously in synchronicity. We decided to create the Mad Gallery in 2011 in Geneva, the first one. And I was trying to curate art pieces. It was very difficult because there are very few kinetic artists out there. And that's when I had the idea that maybe clock makers or music box makers, we could work with them to create something which would speak to us. And it's exactly the same moment that I met an incredible young Chinese designer. I was a juror at the ECAL, which is a design school of Lausanne, and he was one of the students, and he came up to me at the end and he said, do you have internships? All of this happened at the same time. I said, no, because all my watches are created with Eric Giroux. And then I thought, oh, maybe I could do something else thanks to him. So I invited Shin to join us for an internship, which lasted a year, actually. And we started developing the first music box, the first clock, the pen, etc., etc. And we had a whale of a time. And from there onwards, for many years, I had different interns from l'École. And I was working with these youngsters, which was another whole part of me, which was really enjoying it. And so desire, frustration, meeting the right manufacturers. I mean, you can imagine the people at Roche or L'Épée the first time I arrived with my crazy sketches, and instead of going, dude, no, they're like, yeah, let's try. Just think of L'Épée. I mean, Arnaud Nicolas, their CEO, who you know is an incredible guy, and the whole team are absolutely amazing. So I met him 10 years ago with a sketch, and since then we've come out, I think, with 13 clocks. Every year, 1 to 2. And whatever crazy idea I throw at him, he's like, yeah, let's do it. Not this year. Not this year, because we were very, very overwhelmed over the last 18, 24 months, just trying to get our traditional pieces out, and with all the R&D of all the other projects going till 2031. And so we have many collabs in the pipeline. But we just had to say it's not going to happen in 2023. The problem is, if I do all of them I have in the pipeline, in 2024 it's just be a collab year, and we can't do that either. And the other thing we have to be careful is we were, I think, one of the first to do these creative collaborations, at least in watchmaking. And now everybody's doing this. Most of them are just branded collabs. What I call branded is like I put just 2 brands and, oh, that color or this thing, and I don't think we should be caught up in that. I think a real collab is when 2 very different worlds come together to create a product that neither would have done or would have even thought doing. Changing a color, anybody can do. So it has to be bringing 2 completely different worlds together to create an incredible child, which has the DNA of both. And so, if we do a collab, it has to be worthwhile. You know, the collab I really would like to do is an Atmos.
An Atmos.
I would love. I mean, you've seen what we've done with L'Épée. Imagine what we could do with an Atmos. An Atmos is my first love. I mean, I started at Jaeger-LeCoultre 32 years ago, my God. And so I was the product manager. And so, of course, I worked with all the Watt products. But that Atmos has got a special place in my heart. And I would love to do a really crazy, insane Atmos one day. I'm going to say the Octopod. I love my Octopod. The Medusa. So actually 2 animals. The T-Rex. Actually, we're very much an animal thing. I mean, like, you've seen the bulldog and other things come out. I'm going to speak about the tripod, because the tripod is also one of the very first clocks which was not my idea. So it's the beginning of a whole other chapter in my life. And what was the fifth piece we can choose? Maybe a little Sherman?
Sherman.
Yeah?
Okay.
Sherman just puts a big smile on everybody's face, and I love Sherman.
Super, that was fantastic. As always, it's a pleasure chatting with you, Max. And we will see you during Watches and Wonders at the Madhouse in Geneva.
Looking forward. Thank you.